good morning, and welcome to the program, The Voices. My name is Medina Azaki. The Voices is coming to you live on Politics and Business TV right here in the nation's capital. Now, today we're going to be looking at the Christain genocide agenda. Don't forget, the U.S., delegation came to Nigeria. They had engagement with the Christian groups, and some people view it as very selective and very, very annoying. Why do you have to come to Nigeria to engage with only one part of the population? Now, these and more are some of the issues we'll be discussing with those who should know, even though there's also a report that the same U.S. Congress committee that visited Nigeria did come up with a report to say that this whole genocide agenda is being misinformation spread by liars. But we'll be talking to those who should know after the break. You stay with us.
The world must know, terrorists in Nigeria kill more Muslims than Christians. The US officials themselves have said, ISIS was supported by foreign intelligence interests. Boko Haram gets funding from ISIS West Africa province. Some weapons come from foreign black markets. Smuggling routes are protected by international networks. These are not Nigerian Muslims. These are global terror profiteers. So why blame Nigerian Muslims? Because division makes invasion easier. If foreign strike happens, Nigerians will all suffer. Because Christians, Muslims are neighbors. When a bomb drops, does it ask if you are Muslim or Christian before exploring? No, a bomb kills everyone around it. Your real brothers and sisters are Nigerians, not foreigners. Don't stay silent, Christians. Don't let lies define you, Muslims. Speak with facts, not anger. We need a peaceful online protest. Say this everywhere. Hashtag stop using religion to invade Nigeria. Hashtag at 8 United Nigeria speaks. Hashtag no bomb can save us. Comment on every platform. Protect Nigeria, don't attack Nigeria. And what we want from China, Russia and the rest of the world. A statement opposing US military threats. Support for Nigeria's sovereignty. Respect for African borders. China and Russia opposed interference before. Now is the time to speak again. Terrorists kill Nigerians. Bombs kill Nigerians. But lies will destroy Nigeria. America is not coming to save us. America is coming to divide us. Because Muslims plus Christians equals Nigerians. United we stand. Divided we lose everything. Speak up now. Let the world hear your voice. Drop your stance in the comments. Like, follow and share for more updates.
Welcome back. I'm being joined all the way from Lagos by Mr. Disu Kamor. He's the Executive Chairman at Muslim Public Affairs Center, MPAC. Mr. Disu, if you can hear me, a very good morning.
Hello, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm fine. And you?
I'm great. Thank you very much.
All right.
And thank you for inviting me for your program.
All right. So many things happened in the last couple of days. First, it was the coup, the foiled coup in Benin Republic, where Nigerian military restored sanity and safety. And then just yesterday again, we're being told that, our aircraft was being grounded for some security reasons. And after some kind of dialogue and, conversation, 11 soldiers were freed. What do you make out of all of this?
Well, once again, thank you for bringing me home to your program, and it's really nice to be back after our last conversation on the program. Yes, as Nigerians, I think most of the news items that are coming up on the radar show clearly that we are living in an interesting time. Interesting time for every one of us, whichever parts of the story we have heard, we still find it quite intriguing, and I think each individual would basically have to struggle and make sense of some of these, remarkable news that we wake up to almost every morning. Like you said in the introduction, it was one news item a couple of days ago, and yesterday it was another one. Probably a lot of people around the country are jittery and waiting for the next one that is going to come our way this morning. The coup that happened just across the border in Benin Republic was an unfortunate incident. Personally, we would like to see the flourishing of civilian rule in our sub-region. And I think it's a threat to civilian rule in this country if country after country around us we see civilian government being uprooted and replaced by people in the armed forces who basically may not have the requisite training and experience for civilian administration.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. In trying to make sense out of all of these, incidents that have been happening, people will say, we have an insurgency raging for 15 years or even more than 15 years. And here we are in just a number of hours, our military were able to foil the coup, restore back democracy, and as well as sanity in our neighboring country. So if our military can do that just in a number of hours, even though some people feel it's a yahoo coup, it's not a coup. But if our military can restore sanity in just few hours, what happened that they can't? Why is it that they can't even defeat an insurgency that has been raging for 15 years?
Yes, it is interesting. The perspective is quite understandable, and that is partly the reason why I said earlier that we are living in an interesting time. It's really a question on the mind of every reasonable Nigerian. Every clear-headed person would wonder if our military is so prepared, is so equipped, and is so efficient and effective on the ground to quell. It's not just a coup that is rumored to be in the planning stage. It was a coup that was already you made a quite important remark there that maybe it is a phantom coup. These are speculations, but we have to deal with the facts that have been officially owned by the different actors. Both the government in Benin as well as our government in Nigeria, it was a real coup, and so we have to deal with that fact as we got it officially from credible sources. Well, if the important question that has been asked, which must be asked again by all reasonable Nigerians, is if we have had this security crisis in our nation that has cost thousands of human lives, innocent Nigerians from almost every part of Nigerian state, majorly in the northern part of Nigeria, over the last 2 decades or so, and armed forces, including the intelligence community of Nigeria, continue to struggle to deal with it, to put a lid on it. I mean, how do you rationalize, how do you match the performance of our military to cross over to a neighboring country and stop a coup that was already, happening there in the twinkle of an eye, and we cannot see the same level of preparedness as well as efficiency on the ground? We struggle. It's hard to actually see that. We almost read it in the daily news as well as hear it on TV almost on monthly basis, that school children are abducted in droves, in hundreds of them at a go in different parts of the country, and armed forces are not able to immediately respond to this, to either stop it or to recover these children in an instant. Yet we see them, agile and able, crossing over to another country to execute this. While that is praiseworthy that they are restoring order and peace and stability in that country, it is disturbing for most Nigerians that we cannot replicate that level of efficiency on the ground in Nigeria.
Okay, yeah, and talking about abduction of school children, it also leaves a question mark. School children that have been abducted come back in one piece. They come back very happy. They come back very excited. From the latest one in Maga in Kebbi State to the Catholic school in Niger State, where they said the first story we heard was about 50 students came back home. They ran from their abductors and came back home. Just day before yesterday, they said about 100, were recovered or rescued. Doesn't that make, some kind of, mercy, or what do you call, some kind of laughable situation out of all this? Is it a script or a drama being acted out?
Well, it is sad that we are in this, perilous situation in this country, and there are actually situations like the ones you have described that open up opportunity for people to become suspicious of the event. There are real life threats and dangers all around us. In ordinary Nigerians traveling on our roads are kidnapped almost on a daily basis. We see it. The news live as they happen sometimes, and we know some communities, different communities that are ravaged by these terrorists and bandits and kidnappers. So these are real events that are happening to real human beings that are being reported firsthand, including people that are later rescued. Yes, but when you also look at the type of incident that you have described, it's beggars belief that we seem to have a situation that would suggest that certain tricks may be in play. But the only thing that I would just like to say to everybody is, most especially to the government, is to heighten their level of response and seriousness to this matter. Too many Nigerians have been slaughtered by this, horrible human beings, all these violent human beings that are lurking around in our towns, in our forests, in the desert, in Sambisa forest and all these places. Too many innocent lives almost on daily basis are being lost.
Right.
We must do everything. We must do everything as a nation, and most importantly by the people in charge of our affairs, people who swore an oath when they assume position of power and authority to protect human lives, to do just that. We have to see it practically. We have to be witnesses to the fact that they are doing their very best and not leave room for speculation and conspiracy and all this sort of side talks. This would be my clear message to our leaders, because we are almost helpless. We are not armed. We don't have the capacity, the means to defend ourselves. And they are the ones that campaign for years and months, and insisting that they are the only ones that are capable to bring this, horrible situation in control. And they are in position of power now. And so they cannot make excuses. Nigerians can no more continue to accept excuses from our leaders.
Okay. All right. So let's come to the big story, which is, the Christain genocide agenda. Now, the U.S. Congress visited Nigeria as they promised. They did their investigation. And then I saw your write-up where you said that it is one-sided. It is not, collective. The Muslim communities were left out. But would you blame them? The Muslim community didn't go to the U.S. to say we're being slaughtered, even though they are the ones that are being hit. They didn't document their own killings. They didn't document their own destruction. So isn't it fair that the U.S. Congress, when they came, they went straight to the community that came to complain to them?
Well, I do not accept that premise from you. Now, let us take it one step at a time. What we are talking about here is genocide. What some people in this country have alleged to be a deliberate and systematic killing of their own people with the intent, and we have to emphasize that word, with the intent to destroy that community. We have to understand clearly that it's not the entire Christian community in Nigeria that have made this allegation. It is just, a section of it. And we also have to understand that what has happened so far in the historical development of the narrative is that these elements within the Nigerian Christian community have allied themselves with an extremist section of the Christian, far-right Christian community in the US to promote and push this idea to the level that it has caught the attention of patently Islamophobic Trump administration. I mean, don't forget that during the first term of Trump in office, he made, horrible decisions and policy decisions regarding Muslim communities around the world. He banned a number of Muslim communities, Muslim countries from even visiting America. This is a human being. This is a person that has a track record of hostile, antagonistic, and Islamophobic posture towards the Muslim community. That is a fact that we have to put right on the table when we are viewing and view the development in Nigeria through that prism. Now, when certain people come up with the idea or the notion or the allegation that Nigerian Christians are being genocided, to use the word, a lot of the entire community of Muslims in Nigeria rose up with one voice to oppose that narrative, and allied to their voice, balanced, reasonable section of the Christian community as well. I've read different opinions from respectable, God-fearing Christians in Nigeria, including some Christian leaders that have actually opposed that and say that what is happening in Nigeria doesn't qualify as a Christian genocide, because this is a tragedy that affects all Nigerians. When terrorists attack communities, when they stop buses on the road to kidnap, or when they attack villages, they don't necessarily ask for Muslims to leave before they do that. They don't send warning, prior warning to the Muslim members of those communities before they attack. They attack in the middle of the night, and anybody that comes their way, they gun down. And most of the places that are ravaged by this security crisis are in the northern part of Nigeria, which is predominantly Muslim. So we have organizations.
Mr. Disu, let me jump in here. Trump was president from 2016, his first tenure, from 2016 to about 2020. At that time, we had a Muslim sitting president in person of late Muhammadu Buhari. When the bishop from Benue went to the US to complain and promote this genocide agenda, a Muslim president was in this country. He did not galvanize the Muslim community to also say, go and tell them no, that is not exactly the picture that is on ground. He didn't even mobilize, he didn't even lobby to say, look, it is not true. So we allowed it to fester for a very long time. And here we are. It didn't start today. It started about 8-10 years ago. So is it that the Muslim community in this country are always on the defensive side rather than being proactive?
Well, yeah, it is possible to say that, but we have to understand, that irrespective of the religion of the person that is in government is the president of the whole country, both Muslims and Christians. And I don't think it would be right or the duty of any president to nudge the Muslim community or the Christian community, if they refer to it to be the case, and say, look, go and tell your story to the US president. Personally, I don't see it is mischievous on the part of individuals and groups that actually go. We are not in the colonial era. We have to understand this. Nigeria is a sovereign country. These are internal issues. We are grappling with a security crisis that has, it's not something that's happened during the time of Trump. Trump is, and that is the, picture I was trying to paint in my earlier response. Trump is somebody that is driven by an agenda, and part of that agenda is utter hatred for Islam and for the Muslims. After all, he designated, this is not the first time that he would designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. He did it during the first time that we referred to. When Biden came into office, they assessed and reevaluated the premise, the basis of the designation, and they said this is not justified. We cannot continue to be, to allow ourselves to be a pawn on the board of U.S. politicians that are mostly controlled by corrupt lobbies, with vested interest. This is the point I'm making. The only people that would utter from their mouth that they want to kill Christians in this country are extremist and terrorist groups like Boko Haram. They say it in some of their, public, statement that they have made, that they will target the Christians. The only people that agree with them, that ally with that position, are those elements within the Christian community that are running abroad to make this unfounded allegation. This is the point I'm making.
Of course, Mr. Disu, your point is noted. What I'm saying is this. Everybody in this country knows that the genocide thing is not true. I mean, only very few people who profit from it, foreign aids and all of them are the ones who are profiting from all of this idea. But what I'm asking is this. You said it is not the duty of a Muslim president or any president to say, go and tell your own story. But here we are today, we're all running helter-skelter, including the presidency itself. They had to come up with a delegation. They had to go and, discuss with the U.S. Congress. They are back in Nigeria to do their own findings. Shouldn't we be proactive when we know that a President Trump has an Islamophobia problem, and it's not going to stop with Trump? Somebody else might come tomorrow and still continue on the same line. Isn't it a duty for the any president of Nigeria to say, look, if religion is going to be used to divide us, my first foreign policy will be to focus on how, to maintain this religion, to protect both, faith, and to make sure that we don't come up with stories that divide us and put us into greater problem.
Yes, well, I really think I've not been privy to the discussions between the delegation, the U.S. congressional delegation that visited Nigeria. I was not privy to what the content of their discussions with the Nigerian security, leaders, and the people they met were on the side of the government. I think the government is doing, in my own view, at the moment, I think the government is actually trying its best to curtail the problem, to deal with the challenges that the U.S. Interference in this issue is posing to the stability of this country. I think what should, and the Muslim community as well, our response, of course, can be more robust than and more preemptive than it is. But we have done our best as Muslim organizations, as well as at the apex, body of the Muslim community in this country. There was recently, just a couple of months ago, Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs put out a very powerful communique and press statement dealing with all these issues in a very robust manner. As organizations, as members of our community, as representatives and thought leaders in our communities, we are trying our best to deal with the situation. I think what should be more troubling, what most of us should find really troubling, is the way US is behaving around the world. It's the behavior of the US to go into country, divide people, plant narrative that doesn't serve the unity, the stability of that country. We are living in a unipolar world where US dictates, what is right about the situation in every country of the world. This is what is wrong, and this is what Nigeria and Nigerians should see as the greatest threat to the peace, to the stability, and to the unity of this country. I mean, most of these, contributors to the narrative that US is propagating around the world are elements that have been described and proscribed as terrorist organizations in Nigeria. Most of the people that are feeding materials to all these Islamophobes in the US Congress, as well as in the far right, Christian evangelical groups in America, are members of the proscribed IPOB groups. These are the type of people. They source materials from the archive of these organizations, as well as the extreme, elements within the Christian community. Why is it that the US, will opt for all this type of sources against? So, how come that the EU, for instance, has not come out with the position that there is a Christian genocide in Nigeria? How come the AU has come out openly to reject and oppose that narrative that declared openly and clearly that there's no Christian genocide in Nigeria, but the US continues to hold on to its own personal belief that is agenda driven? I think this is the big elephant in the room, rather than what our government has done or has not done, or what the Muslim community would do. I mean, this is an internal issue. Every community, there is homelessness problem in America. There's gun violence problem in America. And Nigerians are not going there reporting America to the UN, to any government in the world, and telling them to deal with these internal issues. We have internal problem in Nigeria. If they want to come in as partner, they are welcome, but they should not come in to further widen the gap between faith communities. What is America doing? This is an open challenge. Oh, what is American government doing to bring cohesion into this country in terms of interfaith relationship? What program in the last 5 years? Just mention it to me that the US government has funded or provided support for in Nigeria to bring the faith communities together. So why is it that whatever problem that Nigeria is grappling with, just like any country in the world is grappling with its own problem. If you go to the east, they have their own internal problems. If you go to the west, they have their internal problems. If you come to Africa, we have our internal problems. How come that the way and manner our problems are politicized actually depend on the type of administration that we have in the US? This is what is wrong. And that is what MPAC has actually written specifically to the head of our National Assembly, as well as to the president. We should criminalize the attitude and behavior of certain individuals in this country that would jump onto the plane and go to foreign countries to go and report their own country based on spurious and unreliable information or half-truths. Without telling the complete story. That is what is wrong. And these are these mischievous people that all of us, we should focus on their behavior, because they are damaging the image of this country and making life difficult for every one of us.
All right. And I think that's a fantastic move. If that will scale through at the National Assembly, and there will be a law to that effect, criminalizing people who, portray their country, in a very negative light when it comes to them trying to suit their own interests. But coming back to the...
How would anybody feel, for instance, if Muslims, let us assume that Saudi Arabia is a second superpower in the world today. And Muslims, we make it a habit to jump on the plane to go to Riyadh and report Nigeria to the Saudi Arabian government all the time, and invite them to come and invade us, invite them to come and attack us militarily. How would the Christians or the other people in this country feel about that kind of that pattern of behavior we have to speak the truth, and we have to be honest ourselves.
Okay.
Nigeria got its independence in 1960. We are an independent country. There is something that's called sovereignty. Every nation has it. It has to be preserved, and it is the responsibility of our government to preserve that. And part of preserving that is ensuring that people don't go across the border to go and practice their mischief.
Okay.
That will damage the
And
image
still coming
and the
back to
reputation
our
of the country.
government, Mr. Disu, is because our government has not done the needful. If we had come up with a bill or a law criminalizing this act, we wouldn't have been where we are today. So it means the government across board have not been able to sit up to do the needful, and that is why aside from them fighting the insurgency, have they even invested more in terms of interfaith, in terms of bringing faith collectively together at every point in time, to discuss their problems and as well as to deal with it one after the other?
Yes, that is actually a sad, part of our collective story in Nigeria as members of faith communities. I mean, we have NIREC, for instance, in Nigeria, which is the main national body for interfaith relations, and has at the leadership level the leaders of the two main. With any public statement made by NIREC in respect to that, would it not have been very good if we would see the leaders of the two faith communities in Nigeria stand shoulder to shoulder?
I was wondering why there's no any statement from them. I was wondering why are they all silent?
No. This is just to show you the level of the condition that the interfaith relation is in this country, and we have come to a point at this junction in our national life that we have to speak home truth to ourselves. We should not just be content with organizing webinars and conferences and say that we are doing interfaith relations. When problems like this happen, then we don't find our interfaith leaders addressing it collectively. Imagine if the interfaith leaders of the NIREC will make a visit to the president together and speak collectively in one voice.
Rather than the president. Because what we have seen, I'm sorry to jump in here. What I have seen is the president calling them and having meeting with them differently. He had a meeting with the Khan president, and he also had a meeting with His Eminence the Sultan differently.
And the problem with such arrangement is that it doesn't have the endorsement, the common stamp of NIREC on the message. So if the leader of the of Khan, of Christain Association of Nigeria, goes to meet with the president is meeting with the president of Khan. And when the president, hosts His Eminence the Sultan as the president of the President General of Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, is meeting him as the president of and the overall leader of the Nigerian Muslim community. But what we would love to see is a visit by the leaders of NIREC at that level, visiting the president together, taking to him a common message from the interfaith community in Nigeria to say, as leaders of the Muslims and Christian communities in Nigeria, this is our position, and it has the endorsement of NIREC as a body. The problem, my earlier response to you, the problem is that we have elements within the Christian community. They will say one thing at the NIREC level. When the NIREC meets, they will say something along the line of maybe there's no Christian genocide, Nigerian, there's harmony, or we seek harmony, we are working towards harmony and good relationship. Then you see the same type of people that sat at NIREC meeting with the Muslims go out to the US, go to the UK, and meet with those governments to tell a different story. So that is very disturbing to somebody like myself, because it doesn't show that we have a partner for peace on the other side. There has to be a common message across the board on the other side. If you are going to meet somebody for interfaith relation, There has to be basic principles that both sides will commit to. Now, let me remind you, the issue of taking Nigeria to the U.S. government for this bogus, mythical Christian genocide allegation didn't just start with Trump. In 2000, year 2000, the same crop of people, put together a document and lodge it with the UK all-party parliamentary group on freedom of religion, alleging that in Nigeria, a genocide against Christians was ongoing. NPAC as an organization at that time intervened, and we wrote a comprehensive report to debunk that. And we circulated this report to the Speaker of the UK Parliament, to the Prime Minister, as well as to key religious and political figures in the UK, exposing that report of both the Nigerian delegation that visited, as well as the UK parliamentary group on freedom of religion, to be driven by an agenda to get Nigeria sanctioned and designated. So this has been an ongoing agenda of some people in this country.
Okay,
and
so if it has been an ongoing agenda right from year 2000, if I get you correctly, I was still in the university at that time. Fast forward 25 years down the line, and successive governments have not done anything to criminalize this kind of behavior. Are you going to blame them? You cannot blame them. It took this government to wait for the allegation of the US government before they put up an ambassadorial list, and which is undergoing screening. Now, even ambassadors, we don't have 2 years down the line. We had to wait for a US, to come up with the warning sign and to come up with the threat for us to have an ambassadorial list. If we had an ambassador in the US, the US would not need to send any congressman or any Congress committee down to Nigeria to do an investigation that you and many others believe is one-sided.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. It would have been helpful to the cause of exposing the fraudulent, character of the allegation that we are facing now. If we had, competent people on the ground in Nigeria for early warning signs, to detect those early warning signs that most of the engagement by these, mischievous Christian and IPOB groups, and the alliance between the two of them with Islamophobic, lawmakers and evangelical groups in Nigeria were not done entirely, in secret. Some of them were in the open. We saw some of them when they were meeting with them, inviting them, and doing all that. Yes, it would have been quite helpful for Nigeria. So I wouldn't know the rationale behind the delay that Trump, it seems, is now giving us the marching order to implement certain things that Nigerians had been waiting for since the last 3 years.
Now, still back to the government. A government that came with the mandate, to defeat insecurity right from 2014. I'm talking about the APC government now. I'm not even talking about the person himself. I'm talking about the APC government that started this campaign of ensuring security right from 2014. Insecurity was the one that ousted President Jonathan in 2015. And they came with this bold move to tackle the insurgency and bring sanity to Nigeria. Now, 10 years down the line, they are grappling with more security that has a multifaceted approach. Here we are fighting different level of insecurity, but they still are very, very helpless. They have to wait for a President Trump to start implementing some of the decisions they are doing now. We are not even up to 2 years in this government, and then the campaigns have started. We have seen where governors on allegation are being bought to join the ruling party, all in the name to make sure that Nigeria is a one-party system. These are the things that are fueling insecurity. These are the things that are giving people suspicion to say, look, you are not even interested in our lives. All that you are interested in is to continue to stay in power. And then let me ask you, our relationship with France, is it helpful at this point in time?
Well, I think we are living in a global village, and there is interdependence amongst different countries of the world. There are close to 200, registered with the UN. There are close to 200 countries in the world, and they have a relationship. So diplomatic relationship, political relationship, economic relationship. It's always good to have relationship with others. And that is why earlier we were talking about interfaith relationship as well. The fact that we are Muslims, our religion encourages good neighborly relationship with people of other faiths, So it is good that Nigeria has a has a relationship with other nations. But what is important, in my own opinion, is that this relationship must serve Nigerian interest first and foremost. It has to be Nigeria first. It's as simple as that. I mean, gone are the days when Nigeria was a prominent member of the non-aligned aligned movement at the UN. What happened to that? What happened to that principle? We should be very careful not to ally ourselves with a particular bloc driven by geopolitics as well as economic, agenda to reconquer or to recolonize Africa. And we shouldn't shy away from discussing this subject because it is a real fact that we are witnessing evolving right in front of us. France was kicked out from most of the countries that it's colonized and, superintended over for decades. There was a reason for that. Most of these countries that are coming into Africa are coming not necessarily because they have the interest of Africa and Africans in their hearts. Don't forget that most of these countries we should not forget their colonial past, the history of their colonial past. Look at what the Belgians did to the Congolese. King Leopold II, watched over the killing of about 10 million Congolese. Look at what happened, even in Nigeria, the period that Nigeria was under the colonial rule. Most of the resources and wealth of the colonies were extracted and shipped abroad. A lot of commentators, political commentators, have argued quite convincingly that we have entered a new era of neo-colonialism, where most of these Western countries are re-entering Africa, scrabbling to regain access to our resources. So the bottom line is this: relationship is good. We are not living in isolation. It's a global village. The world is evolving, but we must prioritize. We must identify and prioritize our interest, our political interest, our economic interest, and every decision that our government makes must be to preserve our dignity as a people, to preserve our independence, to respect and project respect for our sovereignty as a nation. I mean, it is heartbreaking to listen to the president of the Nigerian Senate, say that something along the line of that their neck is under the boot of Trump. I mean, who would say that the third man in line in the leadership of the country will say that on the floor of our house? Are we still living in the mindset of a conquered people? I mean, it's been how many years since Nigeria got its independence? Yes.
And doesn't also that raise the question as to the quality of leaders we have today in this country? A number 3 man sitting on our National Assembly, heading our National Assembly, being elected and being, financed and sponsored by our own tax, the taxpayers' money, who is now saying, who is he to reply Trump, or his throat is under the boot of Trump? Doesn't that raise the quality of leadership that we have in this country today? And that is why every agenda is going to fly, whether Islamophobic or any kind of agenda, it will fly, because the quality of leadership that we have today is completely zero. That is the first question. The second question that I asked you, are we not already serving the interest of France if we're able to curtail or fuel the coup in Benin Republic in a number of hours? And here we are, Burkina Faso is saying you are sending military to spy on us. Are we not opening another door of war and crisis? Because if these countries perceive us as a ground for France to recolonize them or to retake their countries back, then there will be more problem for us than we have today.
Well, thank you very much. To respond to the first question you asked about the quality of leadership in the country, I think I said it in my earlier response that it's actually disheartening to see, to hear, and to witness some of the pronouncements and statements that are coming out, especially since the problem of U.S. designation and the threat to invade the country started. However, we also have to acknowledge that the government is doing a lot of great things in other areas as well. So it is not all bad news. And I will say this as my final comment on that note. People will always get the type of leaders they deserve. We are now going into a year that would prepare us to usher in, a new administration, or the same administration if Nigerians so choose. I think on the part of the government, they have a responsibility, and they have to understand that they will stand, each one of them individually, and this is irrespective of whether they believe it or not in their hearts. They will stand before God one day and be held accountable for how they conduct themselves as leaders. God did not, it's unlike stories we read in the Bible or in the Quran, that God appointed David as the king for the Bani Israel or stuff like that. God didn't appoint any one of them for us as leaders, by kind of divine revelation. It was a democratic process that, brought about their emergence as leaders. As Muslims, as people of faith, we believe that anybody that emerges at the end of that process, it is by the will of God. However, as leaders, irrespective of the means and ways and process that brought them into power, they will be held accountable for this. They have a responsibility to serve the interest of the people. Look at the nation. I want people to go around the nation and conduct an opinion poll. I mean, this you see in the land a level of poverty that speaks for itself. People are living in fear and anxiety, a state of insecurity. We are neck deep in a security crisis, and unfortunately, there seem also, this is also something we haven't spoken about, in the course of this interview, but we seem to also have evolved in this country an insecurity economy. There's a lot of money voted into security. This money disappears. We don't know. There's no oversight. There's no questioning how it's used, where it's used, who gets what, whether the money. I mean, you remember the Dasuki Gate.
Yeah.
That should have served as a lesson for every one of us on both sides, the leadership as well as the followers, that for the fact that people are dying. I mean, the man who was the NSA at the time, is a northerner. He's from the north. Most of the people that were being killed during this period were northerners like him. Most of them is a Muslim.
Disu, if you go through that line, if you go down that line, I'm sorry to jump in here. If you go down that line, the man who is heading NSA today is also a northerner, and a 4 trillion naira is being budgeted for security. And here we are grappling with rising insecurity as we speak today. So if we had a Dasuki Gate in 2014, 2015, probably we'll be having gates this time around when the investigation comes up. We don't learn lessons in this country. We always do things that are worse. But I'll I'd like you to respond to the second question that I asked. Are we going to be used as France to cause problem in our neighboring countries, and that will open more insecurity for us?
Well, like I said to you, I'm being careful. I'm not being like an economical or political in my answer. I'm just being very careful because I simply don't have all the info. We have that level of preparation and efficiency and effectiveness and readiness. Why is it impossible for us to replicate the same thing on the ground when terrorists and bandits come into our villages? And according to media reports, they come in bicycles, maybe 100 motorcycles, 100 motorcycles, 50 motorcycles. So it's not something that, it's done, discreetly in a way that people, they sneaked in. And year period, how come we haven't, developed our state of readiness and an early detection warning system to respond to this promptly in the same way and manner? These are the questions that Nigeria are asking.
Okay, Mr. Disu, as we wind down, we have just 1 or 2 minutes to go. As we wind down, we have a new Minister of Defense who is a former Chief of Defense Staff. He's one of the finest officers that we have. Shouldn't his agenda be to dismantle the security economy? So that all those who are profiting from insecurity, that road will be blocked. That is one. Two, the U.S. Congress has come, they have done their investigation, and they have left. Shouldn't the NSA and even the government itself to come out and debunk that report?
Delegation, before they can leave Abuja and go to any part of the country, they would have cleared that with the government. So hopefully that happened, and at that point, it would have been nice to see the government actually object to this selective arrangement to meet with, probably the people in government that approved the itinerary and go ahead would simply do this in order to expose the agenda of the delegation and say, okay, go and expose yourself to the entire Nigerian population, because when you come, we know that you came for your Christian genocide agenda, but it will be contentious if we keep it within this room amongst ourselves. But when you leave this room and when you leave Abuja and you travel to Benue State to go and meet with just a group of people that align with your position, then it exposes your agenda to the world. And that is what it has done now. And that is why, as MPAC, we came out openly to denounce it and to expose it as something that is divisive and counterproductive to the effort to defeat terrorism in this country. Our position as an organization is that security challenges and killings in Nigeria are complex and non-religious. It affects both Muslims and Christians. So this is the position that we made and to select, to create an itinerary that is selective. It's not only disingenuous, it's also mischievous. But these are people, the congressman that visited Benue is well known for his Islamophobic tropes. He's a flamboyant Islamophobe. So what do you expect from somebody like that? Some of them are controlled in the US state by the Israeli lobby, which is the most powerful engine driving Islamophobia in the world presently. So what do you expect from people like that? So I expect our government to recognize this and the danger people like him pose to the stability and peace in this country. And just a point of correction, earlier in my response, I mentioned about the delegation from the Christian community in Nigeria that visited UK, the all-party parliamentary group report. It was actually in 2020. So I think I made a mistake to say that it was in 2020 that they made that visit. Yes.
Okay, all right. In 30 seconds, if there's an Israeli lobby group to drive Islamophobia and all of that, shouldn't the Saudi government also come up with a lobby group to protect Islam and Muslims? Is it not high time? 30 seconds.
Well, the idea. Yes, the ideal situation would be that we don't want any foreign interference in our internal issues. Every nation, like I said before, has its own internal issues. Saudi Arabia has its internal issues. America has its internal issues. Nigerians don't go to poke nose into them, irrespective of the fact majority of people in this country are Muslims.
Countering Islamophobia. That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about delving into our internal issues.
So ideally, we don't want anybody to interfere in our internal issue. This is something that all countries in the world have committed to, that they will respect people's borders and sovereignty. These are internal issues. Saudi Arabia or America, they shouldn't interfere. But yes, now that America is playing all these games, we would expect Saudi Arabia or other countries as well to ally themselves with the Muslims and support our campaign and amplify our voice. Saudi Arabia has influence on U.S. government, or it claims it's ours. We would expect and hope that it will use part of its political capital in Washington to speak on behalf of the Nigerian Muslims that are now under